So, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development Tactics podcast. Today, as you can see here on the left side of the screen, we're going to go through another book summary. And I'm just searching for a book summary to go through. How to Live Meaningfully No Matter What, with Yes to Life by Viktor Frankl. Living with Meaning, Yes to Life, the Viktor Frankl book summary. Okay, the second time. Alright. A real-life meaningful example of saying yes to life, which is a short story. Let's actually read that one. Or, at first, let's actually check out how long it is. Well, I don't know if... I should be able to go through that. Maybe I'm gonna just go through it in 2 sittings. We are gonna see, and we are then gonna decide and deal with it. A real-life meaningful example of saying yes to life. First, let's cover a quick refresher. The 3 main directions of the fulfillment of meaning. The fulfillment of meaning is possible in 3 main directions. Human beings are able to give meaning to their existence, firstly by doing something, by acting, and by creating. By bringing a work into being. Secondly, by experiencing something, nature, art, or loving people. And thirdly, human beings are able to find meaning even where finding value in life is not possible for them in either the first or the second way, namely precisely when they take a stance towards the unalterable, fated, inevitable, and unavoidable limitation of their possibilities. How they adapt to the situation or limitation, react toward it, how they accept this fate. Viktor Frankl. The challenge of the hour may change the direction of meaning. In the course of life, human beings must be prepared to change the direction of this fulfillment of meaning, often abruptly according to the particular challenges of the hour, quote. For we have already pointed out that the meaning of life can only be a specific one, specific both in relation to each individual person and in relation to each individual hour. The question that life asks us changes both from person to person and from situation to situation, which I think is quite clear, isn't it? Of course it is going to change from person to person, We are all different and individuals, which is the beauty of human beings, We are not always the same, or we are not all the same. Anyway, a real example of all 3 directions of meaning. At this point, I would like to show with an example how this change of direction could both be demanded by fate and completed obediently by the person in question. Changing direction from meaning through action to meaning through experience. There was a young man engaged in an active and productive career. He was a busy graphic designer in advertising who was suddenly torn from his work because he fell ill with a malignant, inoperable spinal cord tumor at the top of his spine. This tumor quickly caused paralysis of his arms and legs. Now he could no longer keep up the way in which he had made his life meaningful, namely the path of being active and employed. He was pushed to one side in a completely different direction. Being active was becoming increasingly inaccessible, and he was relying even more on finding meaning in the passive experiences of his restricted situation and extracting meaning from life even without such limited possibilities. Even within such limited possibilities. So what did our patient do? While he was in a hospital, he read intensively. He tackled books he had never had time to read in his busy professional life. He listened diligently to music on the radio and had the most stimulating discussions with individual fellow patients. So he had withdrawn into that area of existence in which it is possible, beyond being active, for a person to fulfill the meaning of life and answer life's question in a passive incorporation of the world into the self. Therefore, it is understandable that this brave person, even at that point, by no means had the feeling that his life, even in its very limited form, had become meaningless. Changing direction from meaning through experience to meaning through attitude. But then came the time when his illness was so advanced that his hands could no longer hold a book. His muscles had become so weak he could no longer tolerate headphones as they caused him such severe headaches. And eventually he found it difficult to speak and could no longer hold his spirited discussions with the other patients. Thus, this man was again pushed to one side, rejected by fate, but now not only from the realm of value creation, but also from the experiential value. Due to his illness, this was the situation in his last days, but he was able to extract meaning from this state of affairs simply in the position he adopted. By the way, I know this is an enormously fucked up situation to be in, but let's see. Our patient knew perfectly well that his days or even hours were numbered. I remember clearly making my round as the doctor on duty at the hospital at the time on this man's last afternoon. As I was passing his bed, he beckoned B-E-C-K-O-N-E-D to me, speaking with difficulty. He told me that during the senior physician's round that morning, he had overheard that Professor G had given orders to give the patient a morphine injection in his last few hours to ease the agony of his impending death. Death throes? I don't know. He went on to say that since he now had reason to believe that tonight he would reach the point, he asked me to give him the injection now. During that visit, so that the night nurse would not have to call me, especially because of him, and disturb me while I was sleeping. In the last hour of his life, this man was still intent on sparing others trouble rather than disturbing them. Apart from the bravery with which he endured all suffering and pain, what an achievement, not a professional, but an unparalleled human achievement, lies in the simple remark in this wish to consider others, literally in his last hour. The moral of the story. Well, I'm going to finish it up and then I do want to add something. You will understand me if I now state that no terrific advertising graphics, not the best nor the most beautiful in the world, if the patient had created them when he was professionally employed, would have been an accomplishment equal to the simple human achievement that this man demonstrated with his behavior in those last few hours of his life. It will now be clear to you that the meaning that can ensue from illness and dying cannot be affected by any external and lack of success or any failure in this world. That this is rather an internal success, and this inner success exists despite external failure. What may also be clear is perhaps that all this is not only true for special cases, but we can apply it to all our lives and the whole of our lives. For somehow, all our lives are ultimately unsuccessful to the extent that we understand success as only being external success. No external success, no effect. That is to say, no biological or sociological influence out there in the world is guaranteed to outlive us or even to last forever. However, inner success, the inner fulfillment of life's meaning, is something that, if at all, has been achieved once and for always. In fact, that this goal is often only reached at the end of our existence does not detract from the meaning of life, but rounds off this end, quote-unquote, to become a true completion. You may also enjoy How to Find Meaning in Life with Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, Living with Meaning, Yes to Life, 10 Purposeful Themes, and 25 Top Quotes from Man's Search for Meaning, and a deep and detailed summary of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which I've actually listened to as an audiobook. I don't know if I've gotten everything. I probably, just because of the act of listening to it, have, kind of missed a couple of things. I do like audiobooks, but I think that one can very, 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 very easily miss out on things, just because you overhear them, or because it also depends on where you're listening to it. When you actually are diligently listening to it while you're laying in your bed and doing nothing else but just listening to the book, then it is something different. But when I'm listening to audiobooks, then it is most often gonna be in the same capacity as I'm listening to podcasts as well, which is, when I'm riding my bike, when I'm on the street, when I'm walking around, when I'm just doing things. And of course, when there is sound outside, pretty loud sounds like cars or the wind and whatnot, then it is very easy for me to miss out on certain things, which is a bit of a pity, but it is what it is. Everything comes with a negative point as well, So I'm maybe more productive and I'm able to do things simultaneously, but on the other hand, the quality of or maybe even the amount of information that I'm going to get out of it might be a bit less, might be kind of 80% of it, roughly, maybe 60, depends on the day, depends on how I deal with things and whatnot. But I do want to point out, and this is something that I thought about, strangely enough, today as well, while I was working out, and please go away. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But every single day, multiple bees crash against my fucking window. And I don't know why. There's nothing in here. I'm cooking at the time. Or I'm just letting it, more or less soak in or whatnot. But I just don't understand, why? Why? Why do they want to come in? Fortunately, they don't, because there's a window and because they just, do not go through that crack. But anyway, throughout my life, and, this is definitely something that is applicable to other people as well, when they think about it or when you think about it, I had to go through many difficult situations in my life, and situations that I absolutely hated. But in the end, I think it is fine for me to say that I was going through rough times and rough things, This obviously is something pretty subjective. So when I'm saying it might be expanding on that in terms of talking about the exact situation that I was in. Some other people might say, well, this is nothing, I went through something way more difficult and way harder and whatnot. And yeah, that is fine, but it is something subjective. This is also one of the reasons why when somebody tells you, okay, I went through this and I went through that and I feel so horrible, saying, okay, I went through something way more just difficult than you, is really unnecessary and it's not going to serve anybody. Maybe it's going to serve you, it's going to make you feel better about yourself, but it is for sure not going to help this person, because it is very subjective. For some people, something is way more severe than it is for you, even if it is the exact same fucking thing. Anyway, I went through many things, and I'm actually very happy that I went through many things, and something that I do take a bit pride in is that I was able, quite often, don't want to say always, there's definitely a multitude of things that I have forgotten about, consciously forgotten about, but I was always quite able to, I do remember one situation in which I was able to stay calm. I don't really know how I did that in the end. Well, it's actually, I don't know, not a year later, but maybe half a year, 3/4 of a year, something around that. After that situation, the bubble bursted, and I indeed maybe put out all the anger and all the issues that I'm having or that I've had with that up to this point, and actually also up to now. I verbalized it and I talked about it, and I knew before, and this is also something that I quickly wanna hit on. I knew before that I shouldn't be doing that I am gonna regret that, but I didn't think about me. I thought about the other person. So I didn't want to say something specific, because I knew that it is for sure not gonna serve me. But I also do not like being like, okay, there's something going on, but I'm not gonna tell you. Nah. I don't know if in the end this was a good decision for me to do. I really cannot say, I cannot tell, and well, it is I can just imagine it to be good, and I can imagine it to be not so good. But in the end, I think thinking about the other person, trying to be a good person, trying to be a nice person, trying to think about other people a bit more than you think about yourself is great. And you're gonna like yourself better when you do so, because not everybody's doing that. Actually, not that many people are doing so, fortunately. But yeah, You can't do too much about other people, but you can do quite a lot about yourself, and you can work on yourself, and you can deal with yourself, and you can make sure that you are good, and that you're doing things in a good way, that you have good manners, and so on and so forth. Let's see what those purposeful themes and also quotes are all about very quickly. Who are you when everything is taken away? It's actually a pretty good question, not gonna lie. Maybe I'm gonna go through. Let's just begin. Life asks you the meaning of life by questioning you. You don't ask life. It is not what you expect from life, but what life expects from you. Love is the ultimate and the highest goal to which you can aspire. I would say so as well. Indeed. It is so powerful. It really is. And I'm pretty much looking forward to the next time that I'm gonna have a girlfriend or something. I really am looking forward to that. Not necessarily meaning for me to, strive for that and just trying to make it happen as hard as I can. Not really. I don't want to force these things. I would rather say that I'm just looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to making new experiences and, living that life again. I understand and I think and I know that being alone, quote unquote, single, is nice. It really is. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. And nobody cares. And nobody just wants me to do anything differently besides me. But one can indeed get a ton of strength out of love. Really a lot of strength and a lot of energy, I would say. And I don't know how accurate that is, but at this point in time where I had my girlfriend, I think that I was the most productive, also the most disciplined, and also, I think the happiest that I've been in my life up to now, quite roughly. Even though it is hard to say because, I don't remember everything, there certainly have also been rough times, and there have certainly also been times where things have not been as easy, but one has to see it as an overall thing, as an overall, topic or situation or whatever it might be. But anyway, self-actualization is possible only as a side effect of self-transcendence. Happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue as a side effect of a reason to be happy. The meaning of life is unique to each moment. No situation repeats itself. Yes. Not 100%. It's not really gonna happen. Something is always going to be different. Even if you do not even see it. But every single kind of, I don't know if this is a thing, but the construction and the orientation of every single atom is never going to be the same as before, as yesterday. Even though I sit in the same place, I wear the same clothes, I look the same, things just have changed on a level that I maybe do not even understand. Anyway, I'm gonna end the episode there. See you soon. Bye bye.